Alright, so Esper control. I think my primary concern with this being a fair interactive deck is the idea that we're not leaning on the black discard spells, which makes sense to a degree, because, like, this deck is, like, base blue-white with a small black splash for things like Othakaya and 5th 1-mana removal spell, Path Exile on some, like, Unmoored Egos in the sideboard. I think there's probably a good chance we struggle a little bit with Supreme Verdict as our sweeper. One of the things I've really liked in blue-white control is playing Opt plus Terminus, especially, and I liked Opt plus Terminus, honestly, even before Hagak was everywhere. And now that, like, there's graveyard decks everywhere, the stock from Terminus goes up even more. So we'll see. This is the second deck. I really hate the interface here, how it doesn't ask you what deck you want to play anymore when you join. Alright, this interface asks me what deck I want to play when I join, though, right? Yeah, Esper. So Ashiok, if you sideboards lately, what's that coming in again? So Ashiok's a split hate card, basically. Ashiok's -1 exiles an entire graveyard. So it's reasonable against graveyard decks a lot of the time if you have other disruption to pair with it. The fact that it denies the opponent the ability to search their library is reasonable against War of Invention and the Goblin out of the Wurza deck. It's also pretty good against things like Valakut Titan and the Amulet Titan deck. Should update the Stream Decker. That's a good suggestion. Five mana is a lot of mana. If you're making it to turn 5, you probably it does shut off opposing fetch lands. I also like bringing in Ashiok against control mirror matches, just because Ashiok in the control mirror, like milling them 20 is like pretty reasonable a lot of the time. And exiling their graveyard is often relevant as well. Alright, so I'm playing a swamp this turn. Land on top is not bad here. I think I'm gonna draw the Drowned Catacombs next turn. That'll come into play untapped because I have this swamp. Yeah, we're gonna play Jace the Mind Sculptor on 4, and everybody knows Jace the Mind Sculptor is too good for Modern. So easy game, easy life. So our hand's actually pretty reasonable in this matchup. Looks like we're playing against Burn, considering our opponent didn't have a turn 1 play. I wonder if there's merit to snapping Serum Visions there. Could be. This is sweet. There's a land on top of my deck. Snap Fatal Push here. Machine Leg. Thanks for the brand new Prime support. Good morning, TGIF. Blaze it, eh? I'm going to go ahead and force this, actually. He keeps my Snapcaster Mage around to attack or block for my Jace. And, the Supreme Verdict's probably not going to be super relevant anyways. So it gains me 3. This Jace is uptaking. Yeah, the first Jace always goes up against Burn for sure. So this would let me potentially shuffle after a Jace Storm. But I think I'd rather just take 1 less point of damage from my land here. So let's do that. Nope. Lands can stay on top. How's the Blue Force? But the Blue Force is a card that's played out exactly how I felt it looked during spoiler season, which is that, like, it's a card that's fine, but nobody's writing home about it. It's like this card is like reasonable, but it's not like, oh man, I'm really super excited I got to play the blue force. Yeah, Steven. Moderators can chat even when they're not subbed. It's one of the reasons I keep giving out swords to people, even though it's one of the reasons I keep giving out swords to people, even though there aren't a lot of people to slay these days, just because I want folks that have supported for a while to be able to chat long term. They know the rules. And Logic Knot, fun fact, the X on the Logic Knot means that I don't take a damage from the Eidolon here, which is sweet. And we're at 14 here, so if we like find our way into an Othakaya here, we're probably gonna be pretty good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and Field of Ruin them. They have another white source here, but most importantly, I put 2 lands back on top of my deck with Jace last turn, so I want to shuffle those away here. Hey, look. There's that Othakai I wanted for Christmas. Hey, Dr. Jack, thanks for the 5 months of support there. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, we're not getting skull cracked off of that probably means this game is over. Oh, yeah, we're done here. I'm just gonna go ahead and attack the Snapcaster Mage now. Not only do I want to actually start killing them, but like if they attack my Jace, it's gonna trigger Othakaya. So like, be my guess, attack my Jace. Opponent flooding a little bit. I have been skewered. Alright, modern power couple Jeffrey has arrived. The old Jace plus Teferi. Alright, sweet. So, we get to untap our lands and hold up Cryptic Command now. Then we have another Othakaya next turn. This is what one of them modern decks that it's not very good against Hagak looks like. Yeah, I think we've been in garbage time since the Othakaya didn't get skull cracked. That was like the turning point. Can't go back, we're done here. We could tuck our oath and then brainstorm back into it. It's funny because it's true. Opponent has decided enough is enough. I don't have a ton of help in the sideboard for this. I think we just bring in these. I think we have 6 cards. Not terrible. Need to trim some of these other more expensive things. Lyra and Baneslayer. I know that Teferi is like fine there, but I think he might be the other cut here. I think he might be the other cut here. Maybe Narset. Narset could be the cut too. Narset probably just dies a lot of the time. So would I rather cut this or would I rather cut this? I think I'd probably rather have Hero of Dominaria, actually. I guess I could also keep this Illumination as a cheap cantrip instead of this too, because this is like, it's like technically pay a blue draw card, which is nice. Now, the person that's originally submitted this deck sent in, had a Circle Protection red in the sideboard, which is really funny against Burn. They didn't have any Rest in Pieces, though, so I fit a bunch of Rest in Pieces in, and something had to give. What's up, dude?
Ooh, what are you guys doing here?
Those are all Daddy's Warhammer cards.
So I keep them in a table like this.
So I could sort them.
We'll play games with them.
You can play a game with them.
We use your daddy cards to play a matching game.
Can you go upstairs and get ready for school with Mom? Dad's working. You want to sit with me for a minute? Okay.
Then I want to get a horse and watch a show.
Can you say hi to the internet?
Come on.
You want the camera? I don't know about that.
Please.
All right, this is your fair warning for anybody who has motion sickness.
Hey, my camera. Daddy.
All right, so we're just gonna let this resolve and fetch a tap land here, and then I think we're gonna go ahead and path this now, so that way I can go ahead and cast Serum Visions this turn without taking damage. Are any of the decks on your website fair game for submission? Most of the time. Again, as always, just feel free to use the form and just link the one from our website.
Okay.
Another land that doesn't hurt us is great, and then I think we have enough lands at this point, so I'm just gonna go ahead and bottoms up on these two.
Why can't hear anyone come on here?
That's a microphone. It's not a speaker. The sound on Daddy's computer comes out of these headphones, but this is an old game, so it doesn't have sound.
So it doesn't come out this.
It does not come out of that part. Nope. They double suspended Rift Bolts. Yep.
I can hear a little bit sound on this one. I hear.
I don't know. Oh my gosh. They double suspended Rift Bolt, and then we drew our one of Teferi. So for those not familiar with this interaction, Teferi stops Rift Bolt from being cast during my opponent's upkeep. So this just gained us 6. Lucky.
Daddy, wait, what's here?
That's for this part, so you can set it up on something if you want it, but Dad sets it on his monitor, so he doesn't need that. This card just, like, incidentally stopping things that normally ignore timing restrictions is so vomit-inducing. Though, so this stops, like, Rift Bolt for the same reason it, like, works well with Spell Queller and, like, stops, like, 3-mana Chandra from flashing things back in Standard. So, I think this game was gonna, I think we were gonna be pretty behind this game, but that draw puts us, like, really solidly ahead. Just gonna go ahead and plus this up. Because we drew the Hero of Dominaria here, I'm gonna play this Watery Grave tapped and then pass the turn. So that way I can play this untapped and play Teferi next turn.
Why is it on your computers instead? You don't need this to sit on your computer.
Yep, exactly. So I could have Cryptic Commanded that had I played the other one. There's actually a land on top of our deck, so hopefully Hopefully putting that land into play tap doesn't come back to bite us too badly here. We are going down to 6, but I have 3. Oh, that's a good draw, chat.
Okay.
That's not a microphone, dude.
Okay.
The microphone's over here.
Okay. Good.
You're kind of cute sometimes.
They can hear me.
They do hear you.
And they can see me.
They can see you. Do you see you?
Oh, no. They're looking inside my mouth. Ah.
You think they're dentists? They're not dentists, they're Twitch chat.
No, looking at my mouth. Ah. Oh. I ate your grandma. I ate it.
Alright, we're gonna put Daddy's camera back. After we finish beating the burn player. Othakaya locks us up. We're basically gonna give them.
Daddy? What's that? Holding it up over that.
That's called a monitor. We're basically gonna give them the Esper treatment from standard, like play my oath, blink my oath with my Teferi, like lock you out of the game.
I want to pick it the worst.
Okay, you need to go talk to mommy. Daddy can't pick a show right now while he's working, so go upstairs and mommy will get you set up. Okay.
Okay.
It's gonna be time for school soon, though.
Up.
Yep. All right, so it's probably right to field them here, honestly, because usually these decks don't play a basic planes, and they might only have 3 basics, honestly. So there's a chance this is just Stone Rain, but it very likely cuts them off of. Yeah, just show them another basic. Oh, our whole board state is standard legal. It is, isn't it? Because the shocks are standard legal. School in August. We refer to daycare as school. They have a school program that they do there. It's basically private preschool. No, I don't think we really need a double oath there. I'm imagining Declan in his suit. I mean, that's why people love Modern Dream. Is even a dumpster fire can 4-1, 5-0, 3-2 a league on occasion. It is the format of the people. And if you just dodge the GAC or what's it called? You dodge the GAC or like run hot and draw your sideboard cards against them, you could be okay. Alright, not dodging the GAC. Got it. Hopefully they say their Wayfinder next turn so we can spell snare it. Path to Exile sounds great. Snapcaster Mage was also a good draw, honestly. We have our main deck Kaya here, which exiles stuff from their graveyard, so that's great. So please play a Satyr Wayfinder. Unfortunate. So we're likely taking 5 this turn. Once they floop this Angry Vegetable into play. Oh, look at that. Just second Angry Vegetable, sure. We're taking 9. Yep. But I had main deck Graveyard Hate. I had a Kaya Orzhov Usurper. And like this is a great example of like why when people complain about things like Hagak, like what my opponent just did that game just had nothing to do with Hagak, right? Like everything they did is legal and can still happen without Hagak. Modern's basically always been a format of people playing very linear decks. that win in obnoxious and fast manners. How do I get rid of here? It's probably Narset. Clique's probably not very good. Narset, like, turns off their Faithful Students at least. Although some of these decks have not been playing looted. They've been playing, like, Abzan builds. I think I like this. I don't think Ego's good enough for this matchup. Cryptic Command's pretty good because it's like Fog plus draw a card, which can give us time to find like a Supreme Verdict plus a Rest in Peace, other stuff like that. Okie doke. Step 1, didn't get thought seized. Step 2, resolve, rest in peace. Step 3, clench butt cheeks and hope they don't have Nature's Claim. Or Assassin's Trophy. Yeah, it might be right to just like play Ego in my deck as a play Ego basically as a card that what's the word I'm searching for? To play Ego or getting Nature's Claimed. To play Ego as a card that is basically like bad surgical extraction. I'm gonna go ahead and do this now, I think. This again, like that sub game we've talked about that occurs a lot in Modern recently, especially with these Hogak decks that I personally find to be some of the worst kind of Magic, which are like these post-board games where like you can make any deck have an okay matchup against these Hogak decks. You just have to like draw your sideboard card and then hope that they also don't draw their your sideboard card. And like that gameplay pattern of like I'm mulliganing for my thing and they're mulliganing for their thing that stops my thing specifically is like not particularly engaging in a lot of the time in my opinion. If we can dodge a land drop here, we can dodge a ball. We'll get to play this Kaya and exile both their graveyard creatures. Happy Friday, Azumail. Opponent's got nothing going on. Look at that. They killed our Rip and we won. Second piece of Graveyard Hate combined with a little bit of Mana Screw there. Good enough. Ah, the salty reveal. Look at that. Look at that. The no basic forest got him. The field of ruin ruined their day, chat. Field of ruin ruined their day. Maybe I'd rather have Ego than Narset. I could see that. Let's give that a try. And like, this is a real question, right? Is Path, Snap, Path good enough in this matchup? I'm not sure that it is. But like, am I supposed to mulligan this hand? I think I'm supposed to keep this. I think I'm just supposed to hope that like they have one of their mediocre starts where Path, Snap, Path is good enough interaction. Like, if their hand's like all in on just like casting a GAC as their only payoff. Or like this can be like an Angry Vegetable plus a GAC, which is nice. They just don't have that many 2-drops that are meaningful, Pike. It's like exactly Satyr Wayfinder. I guess they probably have Trophy Post board, which makes Snare a little bit better. Am I pathing this Gravecrawler? I think I'm gonna path this Gravecrawler. Just keep my health total high. And this is a good example too of like Thoughtseize is a reason to keep this hand. Because like if I mulligan for my hate card, then they Thoughtseize me. It's like, well, I didn't really accomplish anything. So like keeping a hand that like has lands to cast my spells and like has some okay interactive spells, just like hoping to get lucky and draw my spell off the top. I have 3 copies of Rest in Peace. Let's try and draw one. So the fact that they took the Lyra there seems to imply to me that they think this game is lasting until I could cast a Lyra, which bodes well for the home team. Now, I did unfortunately give them the second land with that path there. The bridge from below ban feels bad. Yep. I feel like in the banning since they banned Splinter Twin, Wizards of the Coast has like gone out of their way to make sure they're only banning things that don't actually kill decks. They just make them slightly worse, which a lot of the time is just like not good enough in Modern. Ironworks, that's true. Ironworks is the one exception to that. Ironworks was banned for a reason kind of other than power level though. I'm gonna just let this happen. I don't want to path anything in response. I basically have 2 paths, and I want to I don't want to like spend my one path, get the other one Thoughtseize, and then not have an answer to a Hagak. I like them taking actual path there as opposed to Snapcaster Mage because they're realizing that like my 2/1 body isn't really relevant, and the key part that matters about these things is the fact that I have a like mana efficiency. So I think because they played Carrion Feeder here, I'm going to go ahead and flash in the Snapcaster Mage and block the Satyr Wayfinder. Because I'm not going to be able to path a Gok anyways. Because Carrion Feeder just sacrifices it. So I'm just going to go ahead and block here. And then we'll path the Carrion Feeder, which keeps them off of 2 untapped creatures. So then they can't Gok us, which is nice. Obviously they can have another creature in their hand, but I think this is the play. Yeah, looks like they're playing another creature here. Oh, I'm so dumb. Oh, I'm so dumb. I knew that was in there. That was a pretty big mistake. That's gonna lose us the game. 1 Ashiok or Rip, please. Alright. Yeah, white potentially keeps them off of They just need like 2 creatures or a land plus creature to gawk us. The problem is I'm basically running on empty at this point. Well, that's not quite true. We have the Teferi. If we can get fortunate and fade them putting a gawk into play this turn, the Teferi could allow us a route to stabilization. They had a second Bloodghast there, though, so now any land lets them cast Hagok, and they can flashback Faithless Looting, so, like, pretty likely we're going to see a Gawk interplay. Which means, at that point, we're looking to draw... Yeah. At that point, we're looking to draw, another Supreme Verdict. Do they not have a land yet? Maybe they're just, like, digging for another Bloodghast? I mean, this is, like, post-sweeper, right? They clicked the wrong button? Why didn't they... I'm confused. Some of the wreckage has really awkward timing restrictions. Oh, they're just playing around a sweeper. This is smart. So, I was wondering why they declined the Bloodghast. No, I guess that really doesn't play. They're playing around, like, exactly Terminus, I guess. Why not bringing the Bloodghast back? Alright, we can draw Path to Exile. Of which we've already played 2. I feel like that was a good example of why this matchup is basically hard to impossible. Like, even if I had mulliganed that game for like a hate card and found one, my opponent thought seized me on 2 and I wouldn't have gotten a chance to play it anyways. The opponent's deck just rebuilds incredibly quickly. You're like trying to scoop water out of your boat while there's like a giant hole in the bottom of it with just like Hagoks and Vengevines pouring in. Why no tuck the Gawk? Because tucking the Gawk is playing to not lose. I guess not, because it doesn't matter, because we're just fucking dead either way. This deck's not getting that matchup, and like, what's the series of outs from there after I tuck the Gawk? I mean, like, the Teferi's dead either way, so it's all just garbage time. I should have just conceded. The only way you win that matchup is by playing some of the worst magic possible. It's by mulliganing to your hate card and then hoping they don't have their anti-hate card. It's the only way you ever win. So, again, Leyline of the Void is a lot like Rest in Peace in that if you have it and they can't kill it, it's very good against them. But the reality of the situation is that, like, all of these people know that these cards are coming in against them. So, because they know these cards are coming in against them, they're bringing in cards that kill them post-board. I don't know, it's not really something useful to wonder, right? Like, which play do you take, both of which leave you dead? Like, is that a useful consideration? Yep, yeah, looks like we're playing against the Urza deck, which has been very powerful in my experience playing against it so far. Honestly, I think the opponent's archetype is much better than Splinter Twin would be if it was legal. Just like many things in this format, it is comical that my opponent's deck exists and Splinter Twin is still on the ban list. Yeah, the Hagok deck is just so powerful that, like, they just race the other linear deck, so that basically the only thing they have to worry about is beating graveyard hate cards. I think there's a chance that Splinter Twin's not much more competitive than a deck like what we're playing in this format. So the opponent's deck, for someone asking what does it look like? This is one of the more represented decks at the last Modern Mythic Championship. It is a Thopter Foundry plus Sword of the Meek deck, so it's very good against fair decks incidentally, because you can just pay a mana to, like, get a 1/1 and gain a life as many times as you want. And then when you add the new 4-mana Urza into the mix, you get to, when you add the new 4-mana Urza into the mix, you get to generate infinite life and infinite 1/1s. Hey, Scott. Thanks for the very generous tier 2 resub. I appreciate the 7 months. Welcome back. Yeah, you technically generated infinite mana, too. Hokey doke. Yay, prisons. And I mean, like, my deck doesn't have to win by attacking, so I guess we'll keep playing. Although, we've successfully basically drawn every dead card in our deck game 1. For those wondering why I'm not activating my Planeswalker, there's a Pithing Needle on him right now. So this is Urza. They can tap an artifact for a blue mana, makes a construct when it comes into play, and they can pay 5 to shuffle their library, exile the top card, and then cast it for free until end of turn. Sorry, play that card for free until end of turn, so they can play lands off of it too. Supreme Verdict cleans the board up at least. I think I'm going to hold on to the fetch land, actually, because if we draw Jace the Mind Sculptor, that shuffle after we throw some bad cards back into our deck is going to be pretty valuable. And this is again, the angle of my opponent's deck that makes it so incredibly good in these fair matchups. Is like, my opponent's not infinite comboing me, but I can't beat them making a 1/1 for 1 mana as many times as they want each turn. So Thopter Foundry plus Sword of the Meek allow you to pay 1 mana and get a 1/1, which I just can't beat. I think I'm going to leave the Supreme Verdicts in for dealing with Karn and his friend. Rest in Peace and Stony Silence are great here. Recall and Veto are great here. This can also clean up Thopters after they make them, which is nice. Do I want Unmoored Ego in this matchup? I feel like I might want Unmoored Ego in this matchup, huh? I think I'm going to trim a Snapcaster Mage because they're probably going to leave in Grafdigger's Cage against me, and I'm boarding in Rest in Peace. We've gotten dumpstered by Hagak as expected, and we beat Burn. Doesn't look like we have any copies of Celestial Purge in this 75. Do we actually have any ways to take artifacts off the table? It's like Time Raveler, Hero of Dominaria, and a Hercules Recall. Yeah, I guess Ashiok's okay against Whir. It's like fine. Maybe they're just better than these Snapcaster Mages, because the Snapcaster's probably not attacking most of the time anyways. I'd buy that for $1 when they have Cage and I have Rip. The graveyard hate aspect on Ashiok's not particularly useful in this matchup, because very rarely are they like leaving things in their graveyard that we want to be exiling. Sure. How bad is Kaya? Kaya's technically a win condition if we can keep the board clear, especially with Rest in Peace. So I think I'm supposed to leave her in. I think. Okay, you can exile like random Pithing Needles and stuff too, or Astro Vaults if they're choked on colors. Do you ego Urza? Yeah, probably. It probably depends on what they have in play. If I have Rip and can keep Rip around, it's probably right to take Urza, because they can't fair combo me with Thopter Sword if I have a Rip out. And again, peak modern. I have my sideboard card. They have their sideboard card. I mean, the problem is, so like, people are talking about how we can't beat their combo without Urza anyways. Can I beat Urza if it stays in play? Like, Urza letting them pay 5 mana to draw an extra card every turn, especially when all their artifacts tap for mana. Urza frequently means they're drawing 2 to 4 cards a turn, which I also can't beat. Which is, again, one of the reasons why the opponent's deck is so good in the format. Is it's so, like, its fair backup plan is just so much better than Splinter Twin ever could have hoped as a backup plan. Do we have that much more interaction? I have 3 Rest in Pieces for the Thopter Sword combo, plus Dovin's Vetoes and stuff to counter it. And like, for Urza, I have 3 Supreme Verdicts. Like, is what you're saying actually true? I accepted turns for a normal donation because it's a list that top 8 at a Grand Prix. So, I occasionally like to play bad decks that did well at a Grand Prix just to, like, highlight that. You know, a broken clock can be right twice per day, etc. It'll be a video that even if it's a dumpster fire, it'll end up getting a lot of clicks. That's how this industry works. The worse the deck, the more the clicks. So, before anyone suggests it, Ashiok does not stop them from searching their deck with my Field of Ruin. Ashiok explicitly says my opponent's effects cannot allow them to search their library. Get in for both of those. So, fielding them does not shuffle their deck, does not just strip mine them, or wasteland them, or whatever you want to call it. Yep. Yep. So, I think I'm going to click myself and bottom by Veto here, because the way I stack the cards on top of my deck, I'm drawing Narset next turn, and I'd like to draw Supreme Verdict next turn. Although I guess this means I'm like cashing my click in to just like cycle a card, just gonna die to the Supreme Verdict. I don't know, I really don't want to lose my Ashiok to Urza Beats. Locking them off their Wurs is good. Killing the Urza this turn denies them drawing a card too with the Urza, so like there's that appeal as well. Yeah, that's true. This card doesn't accomplish a whole lot in the face of this anyways. Oh, they do get to float mana and make Thopters. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know. Like I said, I'd expect this matchup's pretty, and that's why I said when I had low expectations for this deck going into it. I expect this deck like very rarely wins against Hogak and very rarely wins against Urza. Just like on a list-to-list comparison, and Hogak and Urza are arguably like the two best decks in the format right now. Or just like kind of a smoldering dumpster fire against both of them. Really on display here that my hate cards don't matter and their backup plan is just like pretty unbeatable for us. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of mediocre cards that you can like throw words at me and say like are fine in this matchup. But the reality of the situation is, after you put all these mediocre cards in your deck, the matchup's still not good. Like, put a bunch of good sideboard cards in your deck and hope to draw them is like peak Modern trying to make your bad deck acceptable. Like, people tried and true been doing it for years. Like, my actual win condition and game plan isn't cohesive, but the sideboard cards tend to be so good in Modern, I'm just like hoping to get lucky and spike with good sideboard cards. Which is fine. But, like, pretending that, like, the matchup's okay when I draw all my good sideboard cards means the matchup's good is just kind of silly, I think. Like, if you're not winning the matchup without drawing your sideboard cards, the matchup's probably bad. We do have previously banned Jace the Mind Sculptor. I too wonder how we could possibly lose. Man, Stony Silence and Rest in Peace. We're going to scope to their minds. Allow the sculpting to begin, my children. And like honestly, I don't think this matchup is really a matchup that you can make better with sideboard cards in a deck that's just like not proactive like this one. The opponent's deck just like hits from so many angles of attack that like you can't just play one card and hose it. I feel like this game's been a really good example of that, right? I assume they're gonna kill this because they can put this off of being able to impulse and still have me dead on board. Because they'd much rather I have one live draw than 5. I don't think I have anything in my deck that this can get for 3 mana, but we'll take a peekaboo so we can say we tried. We have a singleton copy of Hurkyl's Recall. Yes, we do. Yes, we do have a singleton copy of Hurkyl's Recall. Look, I'm glad we looked, okay? Let the record reflect that we looked and we got there. We live to die another turn. Damping Matrix is an interesting one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right on that. It doesn't beat just them just like making a card construct and killing you, but it does stop Urza's activation and it stops the Foundry activation. Are there any other decks in Modern where Damping Matrix has text? Robots? It's good against robots and hardened scales? Okay. Nah, you wouldn't board it in against Hogok. Hey, good morning, Kazrat. Yeah, it's almost Stony Silence plus. It does not stop walkers. Alright, Narset. Five shots at a Supreme Verdict here. 4 shots at a Supreme Verdict here. Teferi Hero of Dominaria is a solid not dead yet. That's a solid not dead yet if I ever saw one. I'm not dead yet. They still get to draw an extra card with Urza every turn, and they get to kill my Teferi in combat with Urza here, but we are treading water here. Yeah, and the Tar Pit means this doesn't beat us down anymore. So they've hit the ability to double activate this now. I mean, they are at 35 cards in their deck. Wait, did they just put me to 1 instead of killing my Teferi? Thank you? Put it must not play standard, right? Oh, right. Inventor's Fair means this is not a 4-turn clock. Awkward. I had that faint glimmer of hope before we died, chat. I had that faintest glimmer of hope in my eyes. I could have, like, not died to that if I leave Creeping Tar Pit back, but, like, I don't know. I think I have to actually kill them. Can I draw 2 cards here? Nope, the draw a card button. This is why there's not a draw a card button in Arena. Because WotC programmers haven't figured out how to make the draw a card button actually do what it's supposed to do. Yeah, like we've talked about, Modern, as more and more sets have been printed, has gotten closer to Legacy in that the decks that are good are so much better than these brews and decks that are not good that the games just aren't particularly close a lot of the time. I'm gonna fetch before I Serum Visions. If I'm bottoming cards with Serum Visions, I'd prefer to not shuffle them back into my deck. Land and Snapcaster. Yeah, I think I'm in for those. How many cards they have? I don't know. Some low number. Yeah, and that's the other thing too that's kind of a big deal, is that the way Force of Will kind of keeps Legacy in check just doesn't happen in Modern. Yeah, the fair decks, the way that Modern is different from Legacy is that the fair decks in Legacy are much better than the fair decks in Modern. The fair decks in Modern are like comically bad. It's funny, I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, it really, nothing really shows what Modern is at its core, quite like Modern Horizons printing a bunch of cards that look like they will be good for fair decks, but in reality, they end up just making more busted decks more busted. Well, I mean, like, at the core, Jahamblin, you need to understand, when people talk about fixing Modern, I think they're not considering the fact that Wizards and a lot of people who play Modern don't view Modern as broken. The fact that there's like all these really obnoxious, powerful decks, I'm pretty confident that Wizards considers that a feature and not a bug. Because if that wasn't their goal, that's been what Modern is for a long time now. So they would have done something about it if that wasn't their goal. Which, in my opinion, like, while I don't love playing just like mono busted against mono busted, I think there's something to be said about having a format in Magic where that's the type of games that you play. Like, not every format needs to look like Legacy or look like Standard. We've often talked about on stream, like, one of the strengths of Magic is that it's so many different games, right? Down to 5. Yep. Yeah, not holding up Spell Snare this turn might have been loose. Really looking for an Othakaya here. Do I keep this Narset because she can get Othakaya? I think I do, actually. I get Wurs in the queue 10 times. So, and the other problem is, like, I hurt myself. I actually really like the gameplay patterns of the Wurza deck. Like, it's a toolbox deck. It's powerful. The problem with the Wurza deck is that it's really not a good deck to play on Magic Online for a lot of the same reasons like Devoted Company's not a good deck to play on Magic Online. Hey, David, thanks for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Someone had asked if I planned on playing more Underlords. I don't think so. The more I played and felt like I understood how Underlords worked, the less I found myself enjoying it. And again, just like when we talk about Magic, like, don't let my lack of enjoyment for the game detract from yours if it's a game that you're really enjoying. But as I hit like big boss ranking and like played more with people who really understood the ins and outs of that game, it really felt to me like the correct way to play that game, the end game play patterns, tended to be memorization based as opposed to just like knowing which which units are better and then always building towards those and memorizing that was the optimal way to be playing, and I just don't enjoy playing a game that way. A couple months ago, I played a Marty Bugler deck against you, and you mentioned that I was making a video about it. I finished part 1 in our match in the highlights. Yeah, feel free to link it in chat. This Oath of Kaya might stabilize us here. Again, I'm being very conservative, leaving Snapcaster Mage back here because I don't want to take any damage while getting attacked. I could die in response to this, but I think I'm supposed to take that risk. Alright, that's a Snapcaster Mage for a Spell Snare. So... Serum Visions. We're looking for our second Oath or a Teferi. Cryptic Command's a decent draw too. I think I'm happy with both these cards on top of my deck. We're probably never cracking that fetch land, but we're going to play it rather than discarding it to hand size. I have Paths and another Snapcaster Mage, so I'm going to start attacking now. So, I'm going to go ahead and Snare this. This means I can die to a second copy of Boros Charm, but I think it's important that I use my mana efficiently this turn. Is like, while Boros Charm does kill me, the most likely way I lose this game is them casting multiple spells in a turn and me not having enough mana to interact with all of them. So I think in a perfect world here, I should be doing my best to play around things like that. Yep, that happens. So if they have a Bolt or a Skewer, we're dead here. Yep. Burn deck drew exactly 4 lands and 19 cards. God, 4 lands and 19 cards? Oh, that's not true. They triple cycled Sunbake. God, Sunbake Canyon is so good. The Horizon lands are so good. And again, just like, you know, more cards for the linear decks in Modern Horizons than anything. Alrighty. Yeah, I think Extended just like I feel like the number of people who want a bigger rotating format is pretty small. I think people either prefer to just like know their things are always going to be legal that they enjoy, or they're going to play Standard, because if they like things that change, they want them to change more often. Seems like not amazing, but I think it's in the range of keepable. Morning Party Bus. It's a Restoration Angel. It's not quite Shalai, but it is another angel to pair with Lyra. Yeah, I agree, Juan. Standard takes a long time to rotate even. I think even the 2-year rotation, or the once-a-year rotation Standard takes a little while. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Calvato. Calvito, sorry. I think the price point, I think there are a lot of people who enjoy playing Constructed Magic somewhat competitively and will never be able to reasonably justify spending the amount of money you have to spend to do that in Legacy, and that means Modern is their only realistic option. which is actually why I think if Historic ever ends up being anything other than a throwaway format, I think it's going to be wildly successful. Because I think there's a lot of people out there who are desperate for something that's not modern, but there just isn't an alternative currently. Modern decks aren't cheap, but they're cheaper than Legacy. Alright, so paper. The top 4 modern decks on here are 900, 900, 800, 1800. If you go down into the second 4, we have Burn clocking in at 550. But then you compare that to Legacy. Legacy, the top deck is 4,000, 3,000, 4,000, 2,000. Like, there isn't a deck in the top 8 of these here under $2,000. So, like, price is definitely relative, right? Like, I agree with you that $900 is still expensive for a pile of Magic cards. It's just like, again, relatively speaking, if you want to play a non-rotating Magic format, those are your options currently. That's somewhat competitive. Hopefully they have a 2-mana spell we can Spell Snare. I agree. Actually, it's really funny. Not funny, sad. It's sad. It's sad. Let's go with sad. Someone responded with, when I posted a thing talking about how I wish they had tried faster rotation, and someone commented with, that would devalue the Magic cards value too fast. And one, I think that's not true, because cards get devalued in Standard anyways, just purely by the virtue of, they get devalued in Standard anyways, just purely by the virtue of the fact that new cards push old decks out of the format. But 2, if I never had to listen to a terrible MTG finance take as a reason for why we can't do something that would be good for the game potentially, it would be too soon. Just like, whenever anybody's like, no, we can't do that because MTG finance, I just want to be like, are we playing a stock market game here, or are we playing a children's card game? Can we pick one? Buddyland, Buddyland, Buddyland. Alright, I mean, all things considered, Force of Negation's a pretty decent draw there. I'm not gonna attack with this. Cryptic Commanding this isn't flashy, but I think it's important that I just use my mana this turn. Yeah, sometimes when I see some people, like, complaining about things related to Magic online, I just want to be like, when was the last time you actually played Magic? It's like, you sure complain about it a lot. Do you even actually play? Why do you care? What's the deal? I think I attack and slam Kalitas and just like hope that one Force of Negation is enough for me to not die next turn. There's a good chance it's not enough, but it is what it is. All right. Force of Negation might steal this for us. Oh, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a Kalitas. Do do do. Do 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 do. I like how you turn off the mic while eating, where there are tons of streams based around listening to people eat. Yeah. I find it annoying when people eat, so I try and not do things that I find other people do that are annoying. Alright, so now this game is over. Go to 11. Alright, now remember, this is the easy game, right? This is the game where we were on the play and we were able to have a shot. And like, so I feel like, and again, I feel like it's important to highlight things that I think are good in the format too, because I talk about things that are bad. If you look at the matches that this deck has played against Burn, I actually think it's a great example of why Burn is an ideal deck to have be the best deck in your format, because there's so much back and forth with these other decks, these tier 2 decks against Burn. You have a lot of meaningful tools to interact with what the Burn deck is doing. Feel like the games are frequently meaningful and have tight decisions. Like even if the games are sometimes fast, if my deck is built correctly, I have a lot of good decisions that I get to make inside of that fast game. We're really hoping to be lucky in them to not have a 1-drop creature here, so please, like, suspend Rift Bolt or something. It's a Path to Exile. Yeah, I guess I'm just shocking this in and passing back. Cerulean Drake would actually be really good in this matchup. My blisteringly hot take is that Burn is more interesting to play with and against than decks like Jund. That's my blistering hot take. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I should have done this during their upkeep, right? There's no reason to give them an extra mana here. Sooner. I think we're in the business of making them have Skullcrack. Skullcrack. Never not a Skullcrack. Just Boros Charm. They made their thing indestructible. Deal. So they're gambling that this Goblin guy is going to hit us 2 more times. It's kind of bold. It's a pretty bold assumption. Yeah, it's looking like they're going to be right. I'm going to go to 6. They have 2 cards in their hand. Please don't kill me. I think it's important I use my mana here. In a move that comes as a surprise to few, or at least not to me, my deck full of Cryptic Commands and Supreme Verdicts got thoroughly chewed up and spit out by the format full of Burn, Wurza, and Hagak. One takeaway is that Othakaya was actually really good in that league, probably because we played against Burn twice, but also because Othakaya is just pretty close to an otherwise modern playable card of Lightning Helix, right? And it has some synergy with Teferi Time Raveler like we see frequently flexed in Standard. Yep, Cryptic deck got dumpstered. Let's do it one more time.